Tim. How's it going?
Guys, will you do this Zoom call with me? Say hi.
Man.
Hey.
What? He's like, who the...
I'm going to add the other band, Stunt and Seether, to the interview. There they go. They're out.
All right.
I'm here. Let me get to my dressing room.
Okay.
All right, here.
This looks fun.
Here
Where
I
are
am.
you?
I am in Orange Beach, Alabama. We're on the Staind tour with Stunt and Seether. And that was who we just said hi to, from the Stunt and Seether guys.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because I know that you're doing the Bush tour with Candlebox and Jerry Cantrell too, right? That's coming up though. That's not, you're not on that one.
End of July that starts, July 26th. Yeah. So today's the second to last show. We're in Orange Beach, and then we go to Pelham, Alabama, and then Sonic Temple, and then I'm off for a little bit. But today is day 36 of sleeping in a different bed in a different town every night. It's just been a pretty rough one.
Damn. Yeah, I always think about that though. Touring's got to be better now with smartphones and stuff. There's got to be so many more things to do in the downtime. Whereas before, I think that's why so many rock stars drank and did drugs, because they were so bored.
Yeah, well, I actually quit drinking a couple of years ago, and to fill my time, I got my CDL so that I'm not bored in the back of the van or the bus. So I do all the driving, which
what
can be a lot. Yeah, so I let someone else drive for 4 hours this entire tour. So I've driven over 10,000 miles in the last 36 days.
Do you collect another salary for that then?
I save money, but I don't save rest.
Okay. Wow. That's fun. Yeah, that gives you something to do. Keep you busy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I get to see the America through the windshield. So
yeah, how many hours a day do you typically drive between dates?
There was a couple long hauls that were 10 and 12 hours, but typically it's 4 to 5 hours a day. And then I've got a system down. So I finish my show, I do a meet and greet. Staind finishes about 10 p.m. We get out of the venue probably 10:30 to 10:40, and then I'll drive till about 2 a.m. And I try to always log a safe 7 hours of rest. And I think CDL laws, they want you to stop for 8. But I usually sleep for about 7 and then get back in and start driving again. So
nice. How are the meet and greets going? That's got to be a fun thing, or I know a lot of artists don't like those really.
I like the connection, man. I really do. I believe in, another artist said it, I can't remember who, but shake a million hands, sell a million records. And I live by that. And so I go out every single night and make a point to say hi to anybody that wants to say hi, sign t-shirts, get photos. I do it every night like clockwork. So, and I just kind of wander. It's not even set up, because I'm the opener on this tour. So I just walk out towards the merch table and, just say hi to everybody as they're buying t-shirts and CDs.
Okay. So like they don't need to pay for your meet and greet. It's free.
Nope, 100% free. I come out and I'm a man of the people.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is really good. Have you noticed an uptick in like followers and downloads and stuff when you go on tour and do those things?
100%. If you just go read the YouTube comments on stuff, people are just like, I got to meet this guy. He came out and said hi, and gosh, he held my kid. I mean, I just kind of hang out at the table all night, and it's pretty fun. So I even signed some guy's butt cheek the other night.
Oh, do you have a picture? Did you post that? That's hilarious.
I'll post it again. I'm going to post it as a reel, but this guy, because I made a joke. I'm like, we'll be signing boobs and butt cheeks at the merch table. Of course, here comes this big old boy and just whoops his cheek out. And I'm like, well, I said it.
Wow. That is funny. Yeah. Cause you have like 100,000 followers on Instagram, I think.
Yeah.
So how long did it take you to get to that?
I don't know. I've been on that platform for a while. I don't know exactly how long, but yeah, we've had a lot of people jump on board, and I've done a lot of different things and traveled, and I just meet people all the time, and yeah.
So you think it's just been a slow build over time? You just slowly build it up, and then you get there.
Yeah. You go out and and a big part of my show is my story. I talk about growing up off grid and Montana, and my shtick that I tell people is, a lot of people ask if I was going green or saving the planet when I was a kid. And I said, no, it's this character building exercise called poverty. I recommend you try it one time in your life.
Yeah, no, that is interesting.
Do it once.
I heard some interviews you talking about that. I was so fascinated. Like, I don't really want to live off grid, but I would like to live more independently. But you said there were some issues because like the generator would go out, and so then you just
Yeah.
didn't have power. So you had like kerosene lanterns. I mean, you're almost living like an Amish life at that point.
Yeah, yeah, I had to trim wicks, and when I was real young is when we had the bad generator. But to be honest, it was bad till I was like 17. And when it was cold out, it wouldn't start. So, gosh, it'd be like 30 below zero, and we'd have to get starting fluid to get that generator going, and it sometimes it wouldn't start for a month straight. So you're just kerosene lanterns, candles, and just darkness a lot, for a lot of my childhood. So
So why was it off grid? Is it just because that was a really cheap, like a cabin or something that was easy to buy, or
it was the single wide trailer, and the step person I had at the time, who was not good to me, was kind of a doomsday prepper type of person. So we wanted to live away from humanity. So we just found like a single wide trailer in the mountains and set up shop there. So
that's interesting. Yeah, because I used to think all those doomsday preppers were complete nuts, and I'm sure a lot of them probably are. But I mean, I'm starting to lean a little bit more in that direction recently. Like I'm like, maybe they had some good ideas, save up a little food and have a generator in case the power goes out. And it's not the worst idea.
yeah, yeah, there's definitely that. I mean, it's like there was a lot of crazy stuff I grew up around that, I struggled with a lot, a lot of not fun things, but I learned a lot about survival from that. And I think people are too dependent on the system and the grid to where just that could happen and it's gone. And then mass chaos and pandemonium. And I've always had it in the back of my head because I grew up that way. Like I always have a contingency plan of like, all right, with my family, like what's the best spot? You stay here, I'll try to get there. And I was raised that way. So it's kind of in when chaotic things happen for a kid that grew up like I did, um, it's this weird comfort zone. It's so bizarre. Like when stuff goes south, my wife's like, "Why are you so cool, calm, and collected?" I'm like, "Well, when you grow up in a very, house where you're trained to be scared all the time, it just kind of sinks in of like that's your operating level."
Right. No, that's exactly right. I used to work in the schools with kids, and you notice that all the time. It's a lot of kids that with homes that are rough like that. They like going to school because and they like the rules because it's like consistency and it's like feels
Right.
nice to them.
Yeah, yeah. I hated being home when I was a kid. School was nice. I had an abusive step person. I just call him step person now. But so going to school was a nice break from the stuff going on in the woods. So
Yeah. Whatever happened to that guy? Did he go to jail or anything? Or I mean, obviously you don't
yeah,
have contact with. Oh, he did. Okay.
yeah, yeah. We finally got rid of him. So and then onward and upward we go. Now I get to be the dad I never had. So
Yeah. How? I mean, you have what was it? 3 or 4 kids?
I have 4 kids, ages
Yeah.
3 to one of them just turned 16. I started having them real young. So
So how do you know how to be a parent? I mean, because obviously you just do the opposite of what you were raised with.
yeah,
You're raised with
exactly.
shit, right?
Do the opposite of how I was raised. I always had a really good mom. She would actually sneak my guitars out. We'd have to slide them out of the window of the trailer house on the backside because it's a long trailer house and my room is on the back. And we'd drop the guitars out, and then I'd walk by that person that would search me to make sure I didn't have an instrument, and then we'd sneak it to school in the back of the truck. And then my teachers at school would actually let me practice my instrument because they knew I was in a very unhealthy environment at home. And so now my daughter goes to that same high school, and I've told her that my whole life, but now the teachers tell her that. They're like, "Hey, your dad had a rough go at childhood, and he learned to play his guitar in that classroom over there." And so now she's like, "Oh, that's not just some story my dad made up."
Yeah, I heard that. So at what point did the step person did he ever find out? Or did you do that up until you were 17? Or was there a point where he found out and
There's
just let
a
it go?
point it got touch and go because I won the talent show and they put it in the newspaper, and I'm like, "Oh my god." I was gonna get busted, but yeah. So finally, I moved out at 17. It was like peaking, and it was really violent, and I was getting to the age where I was able to give violence back, and it was getting real bad. Like, so my mom finally was like, "Go, go, 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 go." And if I hated leaving my mom up there, but I got out, and yeah, and then anyway, that person went away. So
Yeah.
here I is.
So you learned how to fight too. Like I heard you saying that like in Montana, that's just like that's just how people relate to one another. If there's a disagreement,
Oh,
it goes to blows.
It's wild, and it's still that way. And I go up there, and I
Really?
learned a hard lesson because I became a bouncer when I was about 21 years old in Nashville, one of the big honky tonks. And some of the other bouncers that were really a lot tougher guys than me are like, dude, why did you punch that guy when he was just arguing with you? And I was like, what do you mean, why did I punch that guy? Like, he was arguing with me. And they're like, that's not normal. You can have a verbal altercation that doesn't end in you knocking somebody out. And I was like, you can? But in Butte, Montana, I always tell people I was the worst wrestler on the best wrestling team in the state of Montana. But same with like fighting. I was never like the tough guy, but everyone up there fights. So when you're just around fighting all the time, you just learn to punch first, right? You got to hit them first because you're going to get beat up. And I didn't like getting punched. At some point around 15 or 16, I'm like, I had enough of this at home. I had enough of this at school. So I just started snapping. Everyone's like, whoa, careful with that guy. But it's like, you just grow up in that world. You either throw the first punch or you're getting punched. And then years later, I figured out like, oh, that's not the real world. That's not normal, for people to do. So,
Yeah. How did you learn how to fight? Did you study fighting styles, or it was just like, I'm just going to sucker punch people?
No, you just get beat up enough and you're like, I'm really tired of getting punched.
But you never
like,
you never took an interest in martial arts or anything like that?
No, I wrestled. So I learned, some wrestling moves and takedown stuff. But I was kind of like the water boy, where if someone was picking on me or bullying me at school, I didn't necessarily wasn't beating them up. I was beating up the person at home that I really hated. Their head would pop out, or his head would pop out.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it was kind of like that thing. I'd like black out. And people were like, dude, you're crying. You just got in this big brawl. I'm like, sorry. Please don't pick on. I don't want to be bullied anymore.
Do you think there is like a healthy component to that though? Like, because my dad said he got beat up a lot when he was a kid, and he said that's how kids handled their problems, is they would, or boys at least, they would just beat each other up, and then afterwards it was like that was it and it was over. And now like they go into school with guns and shit and they shoot each other.
Yeah, that's what's tough. It's like when we were kids, the gun stuff was never an option or a thought, right? It was like even though how bad I got
guns in Montana, right?
We all had them, and they were in our trucks because we'd go hunting after school, but it was never a thought, right? It was never a thought. It was like you get bullied or picked on, you come back and you kick some ass, or, and then you finally earn that person's respect and you learn some life lessons. So what happened between when I went to high school and now, I don't know, but it is like wild because there is something about the coming of age of an adult and as a person of like overcoming, stuff like that. And you learn those life lessons like, okay, I've finally been punched in the face enough and I'm going to stand up for myself. And then you get this thing called a little bit of confidence, after that. And then what is happening now is like, whoa, like I remember there was a big deal. They came on the speaker and they're like, do not have any firearms in your vehicles on school property. So all the rural kids had to park off school property so that we could go hunting after school. But there was never anyone packing one in the school, right? That was never a thing, a thought, or an issue. And now you flash forward to 2024 and it's like terrifying.
Yeah, that is crazy. Like I used to think that like metal detectors in schools, that was like so ridiculous. And I didn't want it to get to that point. But now I think like maybe that's where they need to go. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is.
Yeah, there's some shift here in humanity that I don't think any of us like, and it's hard. I don't think it's one issue. I think it's multiple. And like, I mean, God knows who's going to figure out how to fix this. I don't know. It's scary.
What do you think what do you mean like a shift in humanity? That's,
I don't know. It just feels like this violence thing and everybody like killing each other. It's like, why, how did we get here? The world's always been a violent place, but you shouldn't be scared to go to school. And it's just wild. And as a parent too of 4 kids, it freaks me out all the time. I just worry about it. So I don't know what happened, because like I said, everybody was hunting when I was a kid in high school, but no one was doing anything crazy. They had a rifle in their truck outside the school. It wasn't a thought. Why is it a thought now? So.
Well, it's interesting too, because given your background, I would say like, you were high risk for doing something crazy or doing something violent. I mean, but it's like, it seems to me like you use the music to channel all that energy. Do you think that's maybe a thing that's missing? That, not saying every kid should play music, but whether it's martial arts or music or cars, or like they need something positive to focus on.
Yeah, I think that possibly. Yeah. I mean, you got this video game culture, and my kids are guilty of it just like any other kid. It's this great babysitter. Hey, put on the Xbox. And, back when, I was growing up, that wasn't an option. I didn't have TV. Other kids did play video games. I mean, I'm not that old, but I was outside all the time, riding motorcycles and hunting and fishing and playing guitar and just stuff like that. And I'm kind of glad I didn't have the distractions of a cell phone, because I don't know that I would have developed these other skills I have, because I'm a very ADD guy and I'm on my phone a ton. But when I was a kid, I didn't have one. So I just would go play guitar when I was mad. I'd go write a song when I was mad. I'd go race my dirt bike up a mountain. I'd go get lost in the woods. I'd go hunting. It was like different ways to channel, those different emotions as a young man. And now it's like kids just go to their phones and look at what other people are doing. And it just feels like something's wrong here. So, and I unfortunately don't think it's going to get better anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. There's all this research with the phones and kids' depression. And because I don't think banning phones is realistic at this point, or banning social media, but it is interesting, like in China, which, obviously very different country, but they, limit the kids' TikTok use, and they see different things on their algorithm. It's all about kids doing martial arts or positive things, or like math problems, or, things like that are like, and then it shuts off at 10 p.m. Kids can't use TikTok after 10.
Yeah, and then it's wide open in our country. And I've got some buddies in the military and intelligence that are like, that's called long game warfare. He's like, they want to mess this generation up so that you don't have people, that just building your future of your country is coming up different, because you're being messed with by foreign countries that have, bad plans for us, and they'll wait 30 years, until we're really weak. And don't make me go down that rabbit hole. I got a lot of friends in the military that believe that is very intentional, what our kids are seeing online.
Yeah, no, I've heard a lot before too. I don't think that's even, I wouldn't even call it conspiracy theory. I'd say it's like pretty accurate. There's enough people saying that, and you could see it. You could see what's happening.
Yeah, and if you have politicians on both sides of the aisle saying, "Hey, this TikTok thing is a problem," if they can't get along and agree on anything but that, then we need to be paying attention to, like, okay, why are they getting along now?
Right. Yeah. Well, just social media in general. I don't know that. I'm sure TikTok has its, that's the China thing, but I don't think Instagram, if they move it to Instagram and Facebook, I don't know that the algorithms are any much better on there.
Right. Yeah, it's just like, man. And again, I can't be the guy that's like, get off your phones, because now I'm the guy on my phone all the time. So you got to post about your music and put this up, and what about that platform? And it's exhausting. And it's like getting to the point where I even talked to my manager about it. I'm like, when's the last time you told me to go play my guitar and write a song? We haven't had that talk, because it's all promote yourself. Where's that Instagram reel? Where's that TikTok video? And it's just wild, this new world of social media, and trying to get a song to pop and stay relevant. It's just like, wow, where at what point does the art form get lost within this overindulgent promotional calendar of social media? It's wild.
Right. And then it's such an ADD thing. It's like, yeah, you could post a clip of your song or something. Is anyone going to listen to the full album, or at least even one full song? Because this really is a really good album. I've listened to it. Like, there's so many, it's not just like one or two good songs. Like, almost every song I love. Every song is good. I'm glad that you did a full album, because everyone right now is just doing singles, and you did the full album, which I think is a great way to go, because it's a ride. You take it. That's how albums used to be. Like, I met all those, my favorite albums when I was a kid, you listen from first song to last song, and it's like a journey, and I love it.
Yeah. And I feel like we really capture that on this record, and highs and lows, and burying stories of my life within the lyrics and all that stuff, and then closing it out with that Day by Day song was kind of my last. It felt like the right spot to put that song as last, number 11. So we really put a lot of thought into that. So
yeah, how are the first single was Devil You Know. That's obviously a great song. I think that's what I like about a lot of these songs, is they're very catchy. So is that one doing well? Like, are you guys happy with the response or whatever and all that stuff?
Yeah, that went number 5 on Billboard Rock for 3 weeks straight. So it was wild, charting a song and doing that well at radio. And now Savage is out, and that talk about, we're talking about the weird sign of the times thing going on. That's definitely talked about the greed of mankind. And if you watch the music video, I just show all these apocalyptic, kind of psychedelic scenes of how I see the world right now. And that song's doing great. That's top 40, I think it's top 30 right now, actually, on radio. So it's been getting a lot of love at rock radio, and yeah, it's been wild watching this stuff blow up. So
Yeah, I like the song Ashes is cool too. That's like a heavy melodic. I would even say a little bit of an Alice in Chains vibe. Very cool guitar solo on that one too.
yeah, man, we had a lot of fun. And you said Alice in Chains. That's definitely one of my biggest influences. And getting to go out with Jerry Cantrell later this summer, I'm like freaking out. It's so cool. So
Have you met him yet?
I have not, but one of the guys with Seether, my buddy Carver, is has worked for Alice in Chains for shit going on a decade now. So he's one of Jerry's right hand guys, and he's like, "Dude, I'm going to be out with you in July," and he's kind of giving me the run of show, how things go down, and told me a lot about Jerry and the guys. And yeah, it sounds like they're great folks. So I can't wait to meet him in person.
That's cool. Yeah, I was really close to getting him on my podcast. I think it was like maybe the last tour. I was in talks with his people, and then they just changed their mind or whatever. But I always wanted to ask him about like his cameo. I'm sure people have probably have before, but I want to ask him about his cameo in Jerry Maguire. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I saw that actually on Instagram. Talking about being on social media all the time. I saw it on Instagram, and then I remembered that. I think I knew that when that movie first came out, and then I forgot about it. And then recently I saw some kind of reel where they're like, "Are you aware that this is Jerry Cantrell?" I'm like, "Wow, that is Jerry Cantrell."
Yeah, he killed that. I mean, he only had one line, but like that line where he's like, "This is how you become great. You put your balls out there." Like he just killed that line. And it was like such an
Right.
important line in the movie. It's like, and if you think about it, it's like, it's so true. Like all the people that you probably look up to, they took some chances to become great.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So, and I've got a couple films I've done. I've done 3 westerns now, and the last one that I did hasn't been released yet, and it comes out this fall. And I had just moved to Montana, shoot, July of 2023, and I get a call. They said, "Hey, we got a perfect role for you. We need a red bearded outlaw named Red. You don't have to audition. You don't have to do anything. You're the guy." I knew the director, and he's like, "So just show up. Here's your script." So I didn't ask any questions, and I show up on set, and I'm like, "Who's my scene with?" And they're like, "Samuel L. Jackson." And I'm like, "No shit."
What? Are you serious?
Yeah. So it comes out. It's called Unholy Trinity. It's Pierce Brosnan, Samuel L. Jackson, David Duchovny, a bunch of heavy hitting actors, and I get to play the Red Benton from the Benton Brothers gang.
Okay, so does Samuel L. Jackson call you a motherfucker? Because I feel like if he didn't, I would like want that off screen just for my own bucket list.
He did not on film, but he did off film. I believe he said when he walked up behind me and I turned around. I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Jackson," and I happen to be beating the shit out of this kid in the mud, and I'm just covered in stuff because it's a very violent scene I'm in. And all of a sudden, everybody calls cut, and I turn around and I hear his booming voice. "Where's Tim at?" I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Jackson." He goes, "All right, Tim, I'm going to pull your hair, and I'm not going to tell you the rest. It'll give away the movie." But he said, "How hard do you want your hair pulled?" And I said, "As hard as you want, Mr. Jackson. I've been waiting for you to kill me my whole life." Oh, I just gave it away. Shit. Anyways, I gave away that part of the movie. You can beep that out. But
No.
he goes, "I'm not trying to hurt you, Tim." It said all this funny stuff. And then I think he motherfuckered when he couldn't get a certain part of me revealed with my beard. He's like, "How are we going to see this guy's with that guy motherfucking beard?" And I'm like, "He said it. He just said it, folks."
That is awesome. Wow, that is definitely a bucket list item for sure.
Yeah, so somewhere on some weird Hollywood blog site, I get to be, one of the guys that had a very violent scene with Samuel L. Jackson.
Well, yeah, and then didn't your music video you directed by Charlie Sheen? That's like amazing
Yeah,
too.
yep. Charlie's been a great friend, great supporter. He's doing awesome. He's like 6 or 7 years sober now, so he's doing great. Just getting into that guy's world. I mean, he's an awesome. He's so funny and like just salt of the earth guy. His family's great. And through this, random Hollywood connections, I've just met some really good guys. And I got, Thomas Jane's become a good friend that's casted me. And he's the one that said, "I'll never do a Western movie without Tim Montana." So he got me in all these films. And Thomas Jane's the original Punisher. He's in Boogie Nights, Deep Blue Sea. I mean, the dude's iconic. His IMBD, you can see how many films that guy's been in. So
Yeah.
right when I get off tour, I'm meeting him and his dad in Montana, and we're going fishing.
Is he the one? I think he's in the one that it's like the Stephen King. It was directed by the
Yeah,
guy who directed Shawshank, the one about it was kind of like the end of the world.
The Mist.
The Mist. Yeah, I love I
Yeah,
think
he's
it's
one
an
of Stephen
underrated
King.
movie.
Yeah, he's one of Stephen King's favorite actors, and he's become a very, very close friend. And he's the one that picks up the phone and is like, "Hey, if you need a bearded outlaw, this is the guy."
Yeah. That's it. I mean, I think it's okay to be typecast because that's not even your day job. I mean, you're a musician first and foremost, right?
Right, but I just love art in all forms, and looking back at some of my favorites, I'm like, man, Chris Christopherson, Waylon, those guys, Johnny Cash, they all did small roles in westerns, and I think it's kind of cool to do little cameos in films here and there. And just like I said, that's not my main job. I'm a pretty okay actor,
Yeah.
but they like it because when it comes to the action sequences, I told them I want to do my own stunts. And the stunt director on that film, he does all the 007 movies. He's a British guy, and he's like, "Oh, an actor that's a musician and he wants to do his own stunts. Great." And then he got me on the wrestling mats, and he was like, "Jesus Christ, you're good at this," because we're just throwing each other around and stabbing each other, just like overplay. You got to oversell the violence, right? And they're like, "You're really good at getting violent on film."
Really? So how do you learn that? Is that just from just being the way you grew up with fights and stuff, or is there a certain
Yeah, I think
skill?
I'm a pretty rough and tumble guy,
Yeah.
and some of those guys they have to use kid gloves with, and I
Okay.
was not one of them. And when we got on the mats and started going at it, they were just like, "Hell yeah!" So when we got to the actual scene, I'm in a pigsty with pigs everywhere, and I was going so hard that I actually split my nose open when I went down in the mud. And I come up and there's blood coming down my face, and it's real. And they're just like, the director's like, I could have used like 80%. Instead, you gave like 280%. I'm like, in the mud. They're just like, wow.
Oh, that sounds so fun. Isn't it? Because there's certain ways, don't they teach you like how to fall and stuff so you don't
Yeah.
break bones and things like that?
Yeah. And when you hit, you got to sell your neck's got to crank back. And it's like overselling it, And I got to work with these stunt guys are amazing. I have so much respect for them in the films. I always love stunt guys. So getting to work with those dudes on the mats and, they'll put your body plating on under your wardrobe. So when you get hit, stabbed with a knife or shot, and then the other movie I did that already came out, Murder at Yellowstone City, actually got killed, and I had to sell that to where the guy shot me in the head with a 45 Peacemaker. And then when I got shot, I dropped my gun on the hardwood floor, and one of the stunt guys who's playing dead beneath me was like, "That was an inch from my face, bro." As I dropped this big piece of steel, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I didn't think about that." So you got to kind of think about everything on the set and the other people around you and the gun safety. And that was before that shooting happened on film. So it was a little different. Now they're not playing with real guns like that anymore. So
Oh, really? They changed it because the Alec Baldwin thing?
yeah, yeah. And what's wild is the film that I did. The same guns that we used, my friend Isaiah Mustafa, you know him from It Too. He's the Old Spice guy. He's a former football
Oh
player,
yeah,
big black
yeah.
guy. He killed me in the scene, and those same guns went off to that next movie set, which was Rust. And he texted me afterwards, and he's like, "Dude, those same guns we used were the same guns that went to the next movie set. That we don't know if it was the exact gun, but he's like, pretty wild." But they made a big deal on our set of they stopped the set, they pulled out the guns, they said, "Tim, this is a Colt 45 Peacemaker, the real firearm. Do you agree?" And I said, "Yes, I agree." Then the director agrees. Then the producer agrees. Then the actors agree, and it's dead silent, right? Everybody has to be. There's no joking around. "Tim, this is a blank. Do you agree that this is a blank bullet?" And I look at it, and you can see, the end of the bullet's kind of foiled over so the powder can come out, and that there's no projectile. But he's like, "You especially need to agree to that because this is getting pointed at your face, right?" So I'm the one that especially needs to look at that bullet and make sure that I'm, confident that that is a blank. So it was a big process. And it sounds like, I wasn't there on that rust set, but it sounds like a lot of that safety stuff was not done. So it was really unfortunate that, the way that went down. So
Yeah, I was gonna say because I'm like, they've been making movies for a long time. How does this all of a sudden happen? It was very strange to me.
yeah, well, I mean, gosh, goes back to Bruce Lee and his son Brandon Lee was
Ah,
kind of
that's right.
the last big ones that they actually got killed. So I think after this last one, they're like, "Hey, with all the digital editing and CGI, like, can we not have real guns on movie sets?" But
Oh, so are they banned on every movie set now?
I don't know if they're banned, but a lot of actors are refusing to work with real firearms.
No.
But the gun that was pointed in my face in the last movie was definitely a rubber one, and they even made a bigger deal. They stopped the movie set and they're like, "Rubber gun," and they bend the barrel. But I did carry a real pistol. but it was definitely checked by the armor and all that. But I didn't point the real pistol at anybody. The only pistols pointed at other humans were fake ones. So
Yeah. I'm surprised they don't ban guns in films altogether. I mean, just because
yeah,
Hollywood
they
seems
might.
so anti-gun, it just seems like that would be the next step is like, hey, we're not gonna have guns in our movies anymore.
Yeah, the tough part I think is some of those antique weapons are probably really hard to make fakes. Like if you have a Kentucky, black powder rifle for these Civil War videos, and with some of that stuff, it's just they're putting gunpowder. As long as you don't put a projectile in there, it's going to blow gunpowder out and it looks good on film, and you don't have to go back and recreate that in the studio. That's probably expensive. So, and the other thing that sucks is like you have real armorers that take their business very serious, right? That are going to make damn certain there's not a real bullet anywhere near that movie set. And that's their business. They buy all these rare guns, they collect all these rare guns, and they take pride in their job to go out and ensure that it's safe on a movie set and that these antique firearms are, used safely. And, if you get rid of that, those guys, they're out of work, But I get it. You got to put safety first.
Definitely. Yeah. That's safety. Safety is very important for a lot of things. I'm sure even on tour, there's things that lights, being hung above your head and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
You gotta watch all that stuff. Pyrotechnics. James Hetfield. I remember when I was a kid and he burned his arm from pyrotechnics.
Oh, wow.
And then like they came first concert I ever went to, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, and he didn't have a guitar because he burned his hand.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm just worried about my drummer running around naked and me getting pink eye.
What happened?
He's just stay 36. Everybody's running around full frontal nudity in the Sprinter van. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
Boys will be boys.
Don't you guys bands always play jokes on each other especially like the last night and stuff?
Oh, constantly. Yeah, I did. I posted a shower prank on my Instagram yesterday where we picked the lock while someone was showering, and people in my band know better than to shower with the door unlocked, and they even try to like put something in front of the door because they know I'm coming in with a bucket of ice water. And so now I'm trying to find can I get a rattlesnake? I really want to put a live animal in there safely, right? And not harm the animal. But I'm like, is there a mountain lion or a rattlesnake that I could borrow for a great shower prank? Because what would you do if you're in the shower and you open the curtain and there's a mountain lion staring at you? I mean, come on, it's got to be great, right?
Well, you don't think that would hurt somebody?
Well, if you got the correct animal handler, I just want the reaction of fear, right before the guy's like, here, Bob. Hopefully the cat's name is Bob. And they're like, come on, Bob, let's go, buddy.
Bobcat. That's perfect.
Bobcat. There you go.
You definitely got to tape that and put that on Instagram. That's a reel that could go viral for sure.
Yeah, there we go. That'll get the music to launch. You got to do just stupid humor to get your music career to launch.
Right? Or you got to say something really controversial that's going
right. It's a weird time in music promotion. It's not about the song anymore. It's about the controversy that you create around it.
Yeah. Or this doesn't even have to be about your music. It could be you talking shit about like somebody else, some other musician, and then Blabbermouth or whatever picks that up, and then that's the headline. But then people go, oh, who's this Tim Montana? Maybe I'll check out his music. Oh, this guy's actually pretty good.
Right. I'd go after P. Diddy, but 50 Cent has us covered on that one. So that's I watch those guys and I'm like, Jesus Christ, what you guys doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's great for rap with what is it, like Kendrick Lamar and Drake, that whole feud. They keep making all these new songs. And but I mean, it was like I heard someone talking about yesterday how some of the stuff they said, like, you can't take that back. Like once that's out there, like they're going after each other's families and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, there was the Eminem and MGK one a couple years ago, and then of course you go back to Tupac. You listen to that stuff, and you're like, boy, that did not end well for any parties.
Right? Yeah. Sometimes it goes a little too far. So little controversy is okay. I know, like Motley Crue, I feel like is the king of that stuff. They're always like talking shit about somebody, or someone's talking shit about them. And
right.
Have you read The Dirt?
I've not.
Did you see the movie?
I don't think I have. I think I saw the intro of it and I fell. So I put on TV before I go to bed, and I usually make it about 5 minutes in.
Oh God, you got to watch that. Like that is such a crazy story. I mean, I'm sure they embellish some of it, but the book is really good. But the movie does a pretty good job too of telling just some of the craziness of that band and stuff. I know because you're a Guns N' Roses guy, right?
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah.
Yeah. Because didn't you say you lived near the apartment where they started at?
I lived in the same building, Sycamore Terrace, and I'd go to Hollywood Liquors and my fake ID and buy beer after school every day with my skateboard. And mind you, again, I was my first experience with electricity, and I moved from rural Montana to Hollywood. So I was literally like just a caveman, and I was like, I need a skateboard, I need a fake ID, and so I'd go there and tell Luis all the time at the liquor store. I'd be like, Luis, I'm gonna be a rock star someday. And he'd be like, my man, the last guy that told me that was Axl Rose. And he goes, and he lived in your building. I was
Holy
like,
shit.
see, yeah,
It was the same guy that worked he still worked at the same liquor store.
yeah, Jim and Luis. And it's funny is if you watch the original Jackass, Johnny Knoxville goes into a Hollywood liquor store dressed as an old man, and those are the same two guys, Jim and Luis. Jim passed away. I went to Hollywood about 3 months ago, and Luis finally left Hollywood Liquors after 40 years. But if you watch the OG Jackass, he goes in there dressed as an old man, robs the place, and you see these guys throwing him out, and that's Jim and Luis, who also used to wait on Guns N' Roses when they were there.
Dang. So did you have any big breaks when you were in LA? Because I know then you moved to Nashville, when you were 21 or something?
Yeah, I didn't really have any breaks in LA. I just kind of networked and partied, really. I got my PhD in partying down there. As my buddy Louis said, we snorted our way out of Hollywood. and I met this guy named Johnny Highland, a blind guitar player. My brother's blind, so I had a connection with him there. So I followed Johnny to Nashville because I'd never, it's one thing to shred a guitar with distortion, but I'd never witnessed someone shred a guitar with no distortion. And I was like, so your fingers go that fast, and it's perfectly perfect. And it's faster than I've ever seen Eddie Van Halen play with no distortion. And that was Johnny Highland. And he's a big fella, probably, I don't even know how big he is, but he's a big fella, legally blind. He only uses 3 fingers on the neck and just goes faster than lightning. And I was like, I'd never seen anything like it. So I'm like, I have to follow him to Nashville. So I followed him to Nashville. He produced my first record. I didn't have any money to pay for it. So I helped the studio guy build a staircase to literally pay for my production time. And I mowed his lawn at the studio and did just grunt work. I just worked as a grunt at the studio. And he said, all right, if you do this, this, and this, I'll cut your album for free. And then that album got me on David Letterman in 2008 because Dave saw me in a show in Montana. So I got to see the Late Show, and that kind of gave me my first break of, if that wouldn't happen, I don't know that I would have stuck with it that long. It was like, at that time, I was like, man, this was way premature. I didn't have a management company, I didn't have a booking agency, and I'm playing the Ed Sullivan Theater. This is wild. And I thought I'd get those deals right afterwards, and I didn't, but it gave me a taste of what I knew I wanted really early on, where I was like, that feeling I cannot recreate. I want that,
So you got the taste. How long did it take you kept going? Because you could have given up. You're like, oh, no, nobody wanted to sign me. But how long did it take for you to get the next big break or whatever?
Probably about a decade.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, actually, it was 2008. It wasn't that long. 9, 10, 5 years, I'd say, because 2013 is when I got the ZZ Top connection, and I got the theme song for the Boston Red Sox. And that got me in the national press again. So I guess it was 5 years. But that still didn't give me a record deal. And then the first record deal I signed was 2021 or 2022. I think it was 21 when I signed with Music Knox BMG. So,
but
it was all it's big break.
Yeah.
Go make a record, throw it out. Shit, didn't do what I wanted. Keep going, figure out how to stay in the game. That's why I got so into brand deals and stuff, different companies like Traeger and Snap-on and Polaris and Indian Motorcycle, that's when I started making content, and that content I get paid to make. And I just put that back into my band, and I could afford to go out and do shows for no money. And I didn't really have a game plan other than, can I stay in the game? My game plan is to stay out making music. And if you're trying to make money making music at that level, you're going to be hard pressed to do so. So I found the brand deals to offset my expenses to just stay in the game long enough to hopefully get noticed.
Yeah. So, but during that 5 years, between Letterman and the Red Sox thing, there wasn't a lot of big stuff happening. Did you ever think of quitting, or what kept you in it?
No, I mean, I'm too dumb to quit. So I just got with it, man. I just kept writing songs. I got a pub deal. And there would be little things, I got a couple co-writes with Kid Rock that went on his record. So I'm like, okay, those were a top 40 country song and a top 40 rock song. I thought they'd pay a lot more money than they did. I was like, honey, let's remodel the house. And I got my first BMI check from that, and it was missing 2 zeros. And I'm like, oh my God. Back to the drawing board. So I got in that camp a little bit, toured with those guys, and just kind of kept networking. And there was always some kind of light at the end of the tunnel that I'd always see. Like, if I just get over this, get around that, then I can get closer to that. And so it just kept me in the game and kept me going. And I just love live performing. Everything else is, can be a lot, right? The music business side is the most aggravating thing on planet Earth. But the minute I walk out on stage, everything's worth it. The second I take the stage and start rocking out and people go nuts, that's what makes it all worth it. So,
yeah. And so this tour is, you're getting a good response from the crowd. And I'm assuming it's going to be the same with the Bush Jerry Cantrell thing.
Yeah. That's where we win is on stage. I'm really good at talking to an audience. I love it. And people are like, do you get anxiety on stage? And I'm like, no, but when I get anxiety in life, I think about being on stage and my anxiety goes away. That's where I feel the most comfortable is on a stage in front of people. And my band learned a long time ago, they're like, this dude will say anything in a microphone. I just get so comfortable up there. I'm like, hey, guys, let me tell you about what happened today. And my band's like, oh, no.
Do you like doing the bigger tours where you're the opener, or would you rather do a smaller tour show where you're the headliner, basically, people are coming to see you?
I really like opening, and that might sound odd, but I like going out in front of a crowd who has no idea who I am and winning them over. It gets my rocks off. I'm like, because I'll see their arms folded, like, who's this guy? And by song 3, their arms come down, and by song 4, their hands are in the air rocking out, and they're in. I love that. And
awesome.
then headlining shows are great because everybody knows you and they sing your shit. But like going out and being the unknown guy, the underdog, I've always got off on being the underdog.
Well, yeah, and I think your songs are they're so catchy that I feel like people can get into it really quick. It's not like like some bands it takes a few listens to really appreciate it. Your stuff is like very palatable. Like you could get into it right away, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we try to write. I mean, that's 17 years in Nashville getting my ass kicked in the songwriting room. I feel like that's like something I can bring to format is I've been in the room with some big boys and I've had my ass whipped over and over and over again. And I went home feeling like nothing. And I showed back up the next day with a guitar and a notebook and learned from it. That songwriting time in Nashville, I don't live there anymore, but just that time in the room with some of these poets. And there's a real thing to say about songwriters, and the best in the world live in Nashville. And I found myself in the room with Chris Stapleton and Billy Gibbons one day, and I'm like, how in God's name am I in this room with these two people? And very one of those moments where I'm like, oh my God, do I suggest an idea or do I just shut up and listen? And we bounced them off and we wrote for a few hours and away we went. And I was like, that was an all-time high right there.
Which song was that you wrote with those two?
We've never released it. It's called River of Sweet. And Billy recorded a version, but it's not released. So I don't know if it's ever going to get released.
Oh.
But I know Chris Stapleton sometimes digs through the archive of songs and pulls out old stuff. So I'm hoping one of these days to record it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Maybe I will, or maybe Billy will. Who knows? Yeah.
Well, people should definitely get the new record. It's out July 12th. I think one of my favorite songs is Get You Some. Is that going to be released as a single?
I think it's the focus track that comes out with the record. I don't know if it's a single yet, but it's one of those that I get DMs after the live show and people know the title. So that's a good sign. If you're a completely new artist and they're messaging you the title of your first song, then that's a good sign because we come out hard with that song and people love it.
Oh, you play that one live?
Yeah, we're playing the whole new record live.
Oh, okay. So is it mostly the new record? Because your music has shifted more from country to more rock. So is it you're just going to do this full album? And then are you doing any of your old songs?
No, there's no old material in our set right now. Because when we're on a hard rock tour, you want to give people hard rock, and that's what the new record is. If we do a headlining set that's more than 45, then we'll mix in some of the rockin' stuff from previous albums. So,
okay, awesome. Well, I look forward to it. If you come to Phoenix, I'll try to come catch you. I don't think the Bush tour is coming here yet, or is it?
We haven't announced the tour yet in January, but I can't say with who, but I know Phoenix is on the list for January and February.
Oh, there's another tour?
Yeah, we can't announce it yet, though. I can't say it. I'm not supposed to say it.
Okay,
January, February will be very busy.
Okay, well, maybe you can send me a DM or something, but thank you so much for doing this. I know you got another one, so I'll let you get to the next one. I appreciate it. Again, the album's out July 12th. 2 of the singles, Devil You Know and Savage, are both out right now.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Talk to you later.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.